Faith might be able to move mountains, but can it protect your quarterback?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I really appreciate your support. And show me how much you can appreciate the show by hitting that subscribe button. It's free. If you like the episode, hit that thumbs up. And because Locked On USC comes at you 5 times a week with all of your news and notes and inside information, hit that bell notification, and that way you don't miss an episode. And to all of you who have already subscribed, over 3,000 of you, thank you so very, very, very much. Look, I'm not going to get all preachy, and I really do. I've got a lot of faith in the guys that are currently on USC's roster, and I'm specifically referring to the offensive line room right now. Look, post-spring camp, I'm not sure where USC is, if they have the OLIne room where they want it. I tend to believe they're looking for a couple of guys. I mean, I've made it known, they brought in a couple of guys through the transfer portal over the weekend, Cameron Johnson as well as Emmanuel Pregnon, in anticipation of trying to replace Ethan White and the recently departed for Kentucky, Courtland Ford. So everyone knows about the 2 transfers that came to USC. Michael Tarquin from Florida, Jarrett Kingston from Washington State. Kingston was Washington State's starting left tackle in 2022. Michael Tarquin was University of Florida's starting right tackle last season. Now, the Trojans were also anticipating Tarquin's teammate, I mentioned the name just a moment ago, Ethan White. He was going to presumably, play inside, take over the spot vacated by Andrew Voorhees. Well, as it turns out, the reason why White delayed his enrollment at USC and why he didn't participate in the spring is it had something to do with an injury. And this has him literally considering ending his playing career. Everyone's still waiting for Ethan White's official announcement of what's happening. And this information is based off of what Riley told the media last week. So he didn't want to, overstep his boundary. He said Ethan White will make an announcement of what's actually going on. But he did say it had to do with a previous injury that's prohibiting him from possibly playing football. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, if you haven't heard, one of USC's starting left tackles last year, Courtland Ford, he's now a Kentucky Wildcat. So moving on. Here is where I think your faith might be tested regarding the offensive line and how good they're going to be. As I mentioned, Kingston played left tackle at Washington State. Well, Josh Henson said he's a guard. And so he played right guard in the spring game. It's pretty much where he's been slotted all spring. I know he's been playing all over, but he's seen most of his playing time this spring at right guard. Tarquin played right tackle at Florida. So, of course, he's played extensively at left tackle all spring. So you knew the coaching staff had to, they're playing around with things, experimenting, see what worked, what didn't. And they already had an idea. I think they knew that Ethan White wasn't coming. I don't know when they knew Courtland Ford was leaving. Justin Dedich is going to be the starting center. Period. End of thread. And Jonah Monheim is apparently right now the starting right tackle. He can do the job. He's done it very well in the past, including last year. But he and everyone, including the staff, they know that Jonah's future in the NFL is going to be at center, but definitely playing inside. Like I said, he can play any position on that offensive line: left tackle, left guard, center, right tackle. Everybody's projecting Jonah's marquee position at center. Now, last year, Gino Quinones was the backup left guard when Voorhees went down. And right now, apparently, he's the heir apparent. And Gino performed pretty well when he got his chance. But is he USC's everyday starter at left guard? I mean, if hindsight was 2020, we know Ethan White was going to have that spot when he got here. He was slotted to play left guard, to fill that void that Voorhees is leaving behind. So, if no one else is added to the offensive line room, again, Cameron Johnson, Emmanuel Pregnon, they've been on campus very recently, as in this past weekend. So if nobody else is added on into the O-line room, here's what my first team offensive line would look like, left to right. Starting left tackle, Mason Murphy. Jarrett Kingston, Justin Dietich, Jonah Monheim, Michael Tarquin at right tackle. Second team, I'm throwing the freshman in the fire. Elijah Page, Gino Quinones, Andrew Malek at center, Andrews DeWerk at right guard, and then Cooper Lovelace is your right tackle. Behind those guys, you've got a bunch of freshmen looking to play. And you've got a couple of preferred walk-ons in Killian O'Connor and Grant Tucker. We know injuries happen in football, and we know this position group will have a couple or three throughout the season. It's going to happen. Ethan White's unavailability is what it is. He's not going to be a USC Trojan, and him in conjunction with Courtland Ford leaving, that's even a bigger issue in my opinion, because USC's they're going to go into the transfer portal, and they're going to find somebody to play guard. I'm not overly concerned, but I would be lying if I didn't say I'm not a little bit concerned about the tackle positions. They just need to settle in and figure out who it's going to be. So, and that's why USC jumped on Cameron Johnson and Emmanuel Pregnon on their bandwagons as soon as they could in that transfer portal. Once they knew that White wasn't coming, when the first day was available, they were on the phone. Cameron, get out here. Emmanuel, we want you out here. Well, they did. We know that Johnson is going to be playing interior offensive line. When you look at him, that's what you see. He played left guard at Houston, and he'll play that at USC as well if he's smart. Otherwise, he's heading for misery. And by misery, I mean the University of Missouri, because that's what it's down to, between USC and University of Missouri. Emmanuel also played left guard at Wyoming, but when you look at him, I see a left tackle. I see a tackle. He's 6'6", he's 300 plus pounds, and he has arms that just go and go and go. But again, we'll find out. So, how much faith do you have in the O-line group as is? How much faith do you have in Riley's ability to close a deal once he gets guys on campus or at his beach house up in the Palos Verdes Estates? So far, he's worked the portal like a boss. I don't think anybody can argue a team doing better than Lincoln Riley and USC in the transfer portal era. Well, if you do make an argument, fine, bring it, let me know. What I'm going to say is right now, for USC, El Patron, El Jefe, Lincoln Riley, he needs to go and he needs to get both of those guys. The boss needs to go get Cameron Johnson, make it official. Emmanuel Pregnon, make it official. I will have a lot more faith in that offensive line room. It's not just about bringing in better players. It's about the depth. I showed you the two line, the two deep, as far as I'm concerned. Behind them, you've got a bunch of freshmen. So you got numbers, you've got talent. Do you want to rely on freshmen this year? That's a rhetorical question. The answer is no, you don't. So, are you looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all of that sugar and calories? Then you need to try the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make things healthier, better snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and they taste amazing. Seriously. They're so good you won't even know they're good for you. You got to try this. And what makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100%, what do we call it? Real chocolate. That's right. Real dark chocolate. And they come in unbelievably great flavors like churro and peanut butter brownie and cookies and cream. That's one of my favorites. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar. And they do it while maintaining all their amazing macros. So what's even better is you're going to get a great tasting, healthy snack, but you're only going to get 130 calories. You're only going to get 4 grams of sugar, but you're going to get a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't even need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. While you can, still get your specialty flavors at Built.com. But if you're near a Walmart, head on in, get to the pharmacy department, and you can pick up a 4-box of their Built Bars. They have their cookies and cream, they've got the double chocolate bar, and if you like coconut, they've got something called a coconut puff. And if you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box of their hit flavors, brownie batter puff and churro puff. Thank me later. So, Locked On's NFL mock draft special is here, and it's bigger than ever. Follow along. All 32 teams' first pick in a 6-episode ultimate mock draft experience only on Locked On can deliver. All episodes are available now on Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So I broke down the defensive groups last week on Locked On USC. However, there is a question now that I'm going to ask everybody. With the addition of Bear Alexander, he's the most recent addition to USC's 2023 roster. Did Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch do enough to fix the defensive issues? Let me know. I've got a comment section. Give me the feedback. I think mostly everyone was pretty stoked with the additions before bear hunting season opened up. I mean, let's not forget, Bear's getting all the headlines right now. Deservedly so. But USC has already added Keon Bars, Jack Sullivan, Anthony Lucas. You add on Bear, that's 4 transfer portal defensive linemen. Who else did that? Now, I don't know how many other teams needed to do that, but those are all impact players, and they were all starters on their previous teams. Well, Bear wasn't, but he was an impact player at Georgia, and they were upset that he left. I mean, each one of these guys is anticipated to play major minutes. And Riley and company, they also added Christian Roland Wallace, who most believe was going to just step right in and take over from Mekhi Blackman. They added Mason Cobb and Jamil Muhammad. So you've got one guy who was made to play middle linebacker, and everyone is putting their faith in Jamil Muhammad to be the answer at rush end. That's 7 players on defense via the transfer portal. And literally, each one of them could be starting when USC kicks off against San Jose State. Look, I know the first 4 guys I spoke about are defensive linemen, And Grinch likes to use the 3-4 with a rush end. But I think you get my point. All of these guys are going to be playing significant minutes. And let's not forget, those are just the transfer portal guys. Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, the coaching staff, they also brought in a few through the recruiting process, most notably, and because they flashed during the spring game, Sam Green. How about Taka Curtis? Everybody's been talking about him, at another linebacker. And then Christian Pierce. This guy's been flying under the radar. But these guys are pushing the coaches for playing time now. They did in the spring. It's going to happen by the time fall camp rolls around as well. So when you add those guys to the guys who are returning, now you have depth. You've got too deep. And that should address the issue of what happened last year, when the guys wore down as the season wore on. When you bring in more players on the defense, what we're assuming, presumably, are higher caliber players, the staff is now going to be able to rotate the guys more often. You're not going to leave guys in longer to wear down, get tired, as well as risk injury. So, now, did we see some progress in the spring game? I think we did. Yeah, we saw some bad stuff, but we saw progress. We didn't see anything exotic, just, very basic, vanilla plays, both sides of the ball, offense and defense. But after that first series on defense, we saw some solid play. And we also saw some playmaking with the turnovers. So opportunistic is going to carry over. Again, we're looking for a 20% improvement from the defense as far as points per game given up. Last year they gave up 29. A 20% improvement on that, get it down to 25 points per game. USC is going to score 40 plus. Last year they scored 41. So we won't know for sure that progress is being made until the games are for real this season. But I think with the additions and players like Solomon Tuliaupupu, Domani Jackson, Kalen Bullock, Bryson Shaw, Shane Lee, Eric Gentry, et al., and we could see, I think you're going to see progress with this defense. Number one, the players that I just mentioned are another year older in the system. And as far as, a player like Solo, who has just been, you hear me bringing his name up a lot, and I hope I'm not overselling it. But when the players are saying he's killing it, hey, you know what? Maybe USC just found another defensive lineman diamond in the rough. Took a few years, but Solo looks like a defensive lineman. All right, so like I said, we know progress is being made. We'll hopefully see it on the field come the fall. But we could actually see a late return on Lincoln Riley's defensive investment when the 2024 signing day arrives. And I'm talking about the transfer portal as well. So recruiting, if USC wins and makes the playoffs, and even wins a game or two in the playoffs, the myth that Riley can't or won't recruit for the defense, all of a sudden it's dead on arrival. So is Bear Alexander, is he the Sean Cody spark? Who knows? For those of you who are trying to figure out what does Mark mean, Sean Cody spark. Sean Cody was the first big-time defensive lineman recruit that Pete Carroll was able to convince to sign on with USC when he took over the program. From then on, it was just the floodgates kind of opened because USC was winning. And they were doing it in an impressive fashion. So, again, Bear Alexander is that first marquee guy to step over the threshold, so to speak. Say, I'm going to be the dude. So is he that, Sean Cody spark? We don't know. But if USC wins, we're going to find out real quick, where all of a sudden the floodgates open and defensive guys are going to want to come play at USC again because they know the offense is going to score. All they got to do is go out there and have fun, stop the other guys, put some rings on their fingers. All right. Excuse me. The NFL draft is almost here. It's not going to be a great USC draft this year. It'll be much better in when the 2024 draft rolls around. I think then they're going to have at least. I think USC will have at least 10 guys drafted. This year, I think 5 is probably the high water mark. Jordan Addison, probably USC's best chance at a first-round draft pick. Tuiapolotu, depending on what you're hearing, who you're listening to, he's slipping. Hopefully he can stick around and stay in that second round. Andrew Voorhees. Look, as far as I'm concerned, what he did at the combine on one leg, he's earned a second day pick. I don't know if he's going to drop. But after those 3, then you've got Mekhi Blackman. It's going to be a, 3rd, 4th, 5th round guy. Brett Nealon, Travis Dye, Brandon Peely. Those are the guys who have the best shot to be drafted. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So you and me and everybody else who's going to keep an eye on the draft, just go in there don't have high expectations. Because when you don't get what you're expecting, you're going to be let down. Anyways, if Caleb Williams was coming out, multiple NFL scouts and coaches have reportedly said they believe Caleb Williams is miles ahead of any quarterback in this year's NFL draft. So what does that mean? He's, number one, he's the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes, since Patrick Mahomes, but he would be the number 1 overall draft pick if he was coming out this year. This year, we know he's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick in 2024. So with the draft coming up, those type of comments that I just read, they're going to continue. And I'll keep bringing them to you as I hear them. But, freak is used quite often when they talk about Caleb and his abilities. He's good, and he's going to only get better. All right, what else can I talk to you about on this Hump Day episode of Locked on USC? How about JJ3, John Jackson III? He's going to Nevada. He found a home. It's going to be a Wolfpack. This was really difficult. Well, I'm not going to be melodramatic about it. JJ was one of my favorite players. He is just a really great young man. Comes from a great family. I'm looking forward to him being the focal point on Nevada's squad. He deserves it. So, go get it, JJ. Be the man. Before I get out of here on this episode of Locked on USC, there's not a whole lot going on besides, the little bits and pieces of news I've been, scouring for. But what the heck is going on in Boulder, Colorado? Man, prime time, Deion Sanders, he's got his players running for the exit. According to Max Olson from The Athletic, as many as 15 Buffaloes who are on scholarship, they entered the transfer portal on Monday. The Buffaloes played their spring game the Saturday before Monday, just over this past weekend. Among the players who jumped in was the Buffs' leading running back from last season, Deion Smith. He declared his intention, as did junior wide receiver Montana Montana Lamonius Craig, who led the team in receptions. By the way, he's another really good, fine young man. Smart, intelligent. I watched him out on the 7-on-7 circuit when he was in high school. I like this young man. I believe he just got an offer from Purdue. His offers are rolling in. He's going to find a home. He's not going to have a problem. But as far as Dion is, look, he's acting like a Delta Bravo. You know what that means. Most of you will know what that means. And let me tell you why. One player who announced his transfer prior to the spring game, he's speaking out. Because apparently prime time is not allowing players to have their game film from last year before he was the coach. He's not allowing these players to have their film to give to other schools that are interested in these players. What's that all about? Why are you doing that? It's stupid. Don't be a jerk. You're gaining nothing out of this. And other players and other recruits, they're going to see this type of stuff too. Remember, when you're building relationships, you're not just building it with the player, you're building it with the family of the player. I think Primetime needs to take a step back here on this one. I understand new coach, new culture, cleaning house. I get it. But I think he might have stepped over the line with that one. I mean, since he took over the program, a total of 43 players have transferred out. Like I said, when Lincoln Riley took over, there was a big roster turnover. Not that many in year one, though. This is all I'm going to say about Colorado. They're going to have a rough season. And Prime is going to have to find his humble button at some point. Because I know Lincoln Riley, he's not going to show any mercy when the Trojans come to Boulder for that game September 30th. That's going to be USC's 5th game of the year. And although that will be USC's 2nd game in a row on the road, the first one will be in Arizona the week previous. So, stranger things have happened. However, I'm not calling this a trap game. I just think that USC should go in there, stomp on them, break their neck, and remind Prime Time that you're staying in the Pac-12. We're going to the big. Have a good time while we're gone, and take this 50-point loss with you. Who knows? It could happen. All right. Don't forget, tomorrow on Locked On USC, we're going to continue with the offensive position group breakdown. I'm going to talk about the wide receivers. And then when we're done with that, when you're done making Locked On USC your first listen, what are you going to do? That's right. You're going to head on over to wearesc.com. We've got that subscription special going. $29.99 takes you all the way through the end of fall camp, August 31st. And it'll also give you the first game of the year. Or, if you want, spend $99.99 a month. I would jump on that special. Anyways, Locked On USC, going to be back at you with another episode tomorrow, because it comes at you 5 times a week. So, until then, everyone, you know what to do.